I always love your introductions.
Thank you, mate.
They are the best.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. So welcome people of the internet to another edition of, actually second edition only of ID Garden, where we share ideas. We can be as speculative as we want. There's no rules, but a few guidelines of like, let's play well, let's bounce ideas off each other's head. Let's be mindful of who spoke, who didn't. Let's be interested and interesting. And that's it. So we're going to do a first round of, saying what's hot for us, what's cooking up in our mind. And starting from the top left that I see on my screen. So Clay, you're first.
I'm not on the top left of my screen, though. All right, I'll follow the rules. I don't know if I can be interesting, but I definitely am interested. What's hot for me? I just made a fresh cup of coffee. In my world, let's see. I would say that this is pretty random, but I realize I've got a lot of dusty corners in my life that haven't been looked at for a while. And so I'm looking at my dusty corners, and some of them are actually literally dusty corners.
Dusty corners. Okay.
Yeah, dusty corners.
Cool.
And was I supposed to say, hi, I'm Clay from San Francisco, California in the United States? If I missed that part,
yeah. I mean, it's true first time, okay, because it's true, different settings, people don't know you. Maybe you could give a little bit of background about your past and what kind of person you are.
A little bit of well, let's see. So I'm a 60-year-old San Francisco, California, United States gay guy. I'm white. You can see that. I think y'all can see that. Male. I was a serious young man, and now that I feel like I get the punchline of the cosmic joke, I can laugh in the face of disaster and bring peace where it is missing. How's that?
The punchline of the cosmic joke, by the way, I forgot. What was it? You said it earlier, I forgot.
That is it.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Don't spoil the punchline. Yeah, don't spoil the punchline.
Well, I just say that is the punchline. That's what I got anyway. Okay, enough about me. Who's in the next position?
Yeah. Enough about you, Clay.
Mute.
Jimmy, you're next.
So I'm Jamie. I'm from Vancouver, Washington. I'm going to be incredibly rude, and I'm so sorry. I might randomly disappear or my head is looking this way. I'm double dipping right now. I work as a dispatcher for an IT company, and so I have to manage the triage board and the phones. But I didn't want to miss this, so I'm kind of in and out. I apologize in advance, but I'm pretty good at putting my brain in a million directions, so I'm constantly absorbing what everybody is saying. So you want me to tell a little bit about me? There's so much. Oh, dusty corners. I have so many dusty corners. I know all about the dusty corners. I'm trying to dance them out these days. That's a big thing about me. I'm really into ceremony. I've got a lot of that on my mind. I think something about creating ritual to call in the light and to let it run through our veins, and frequency. I'm real focused on the concept of energy, how everything is energy, trying to get down to the most basic fundamentals to get through this shitstorm that we're in. And so when I think about just energy, it's like a big exhale. So that's a thing. Connecting with the others. I feel like there's this coming together that's happening. So that's cool. You know that thing where you strike like a violin string along a table with the sand? Have you guys seen this? You
Mhm.
strike it and then the sand just comes together into these really beautiful geometric patterns.
Yeah.
And it just does it like all on its own, just frequency. So that's what we are.
Yes.
That's all I got.
You got
There's
the
lots of
best
other-
subjects. I would love to talk about that, but we'll see. Thank you, Jamie. Wonderful. Oh, could you share maybe just like your background, who you are, with as little word as you possibly can, which is hard.
Wait, are
but-
we still talking to me? You want me to share more?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can give a quick summary. I have 6 kids, 5 boys, 1 daughter. That's a big part of me. Being a mother has always been my thing. And I was the oldest of 8, or second to the oldest of 8. I might as well have been the oldest though.
Is that the most important thing about you? What are the most important things about you?
Well, definitely the mother thing, because
Mhm,
children have been my life since I was a child.
mhm.
So I feel like that's my first identity, is the mother. And I'm a
Yeah.
Cancer sun, so that kind of goes along those lines too. I was a nanny for 20 years, and so kids, that's everything.
Yeah, but that's why you have good, lovely mother energy. We need that.
Yes. Yes, I love to cook and clean and dance and sing and make my house a nice little home. So I'm all about that. I also went back to school when I was 30. I got a divorce. So I've been single since I was 30 and I'm 43. So I'm a single mama.
What?
What? I know. I've dated here and there, but you know, just it's the thing. I'm working on right relationship. I got Pluto in the 5th house with Libra. So we're doing a thing there. What else? I got a degree in public affairs and criminal justice, and I've worked as a social worker. I've worked as a pastry chef. I've worked in so many jobs. I worked for Geico as a marketing director. That's kind of my dirty secret. But it was fun. I got to dress in a 7-foot tall gecko costume, and I rode the Max in Portland on our grand opening day. And I handed roses out to everybody while wearing a gecko costume. So I just do real weird out of the box stuff. Yeah, but I'm like a Jill of many trades. But ultimately I want to be a writer. Writing is my bliss. I love wordsmithing. So, and I just wrote a book called Mother Song, children's song. It's for the children, but it's called Mother Song. And I'm working on that one. It's done, but I got to get it to print still. Okay, is that good?
So many things. You will have to next time strip it down to the essence. You know?
Okay, I'll work on it.
It's going to be hard, but as a writer, you need to know how to edit.
Yes, very true.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Kevin?
Hey, I'm a displaced Texan here in Saudi Arabia. Been here for about 8 years. I'm a broad generalist, engineer, scientist, filmmaker. I love making film. That was my passion when I was a kid. I grew up very depressed, lonely. I might as well have been an only child. I was the youngest child of my family. And East Texas is not a very friendly place for artists or people who are unusual. I was unusual, so I got bullied a lot. So it's taken 40 years for me to kind of work out all those kinks and breaks and things in my past. But I'm here now, and I'm present, and I really I was here last night, and I really enjoyed the dynamic and the energy. I was with the group last night. Of course, it's night here, so I know it's daytime for y'all. And I can't wait to get back to the US. I'll be back there in about 3 months from here. And retired. I'm 60 also. Clay,
16. Wow.
white guy. So yeah. So that's me. I don't know if I got to the essence, Max, but that's, you can tell me.
who knows? But I think it's an interesting exercise. You know, if we keep doing this, maybe you guys come in a way to be able to tell your story. It's like, what are the key? Because there's so many angles for which everyone can describe themselves. But it's like, in a way, trying to find who you are. I think it's the holy grail of I don't know, of philosophy, of life. It's like until you know yourself, know thyself. You know, it's the first thing that they put, on top of like the mystery schools, right? So maybe that's why I'm a bit, like pushy around this. But I think it's a really useful exercise. And I wanted to call this almost like a philosopher's garden, but I thought it was a bit pretentious. Or I don't know. Maybe we could discuss the name as well.
Well, I can add that to philosophy then real quick. I did find myself, and now I know that I know nothing. That's all I know.
Yeah, you still know some little things,
I know details, but broadly, no. I know nothing.
I spoke with you. You still know a bunch of stuff.
Well, there's also the notion that each individual atom is connected to each other individual atom, and that it's all cognitive. And so like just increasing awareness by starting with like breath, awareness of breath, and like the cognitive process of breath, super helpful.
Yeah, sounds good. Maybe you can continue, Cameron, presenting more about who you are as well and what's cooking up for you at the moment.
Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm building a technology that will like empower people to better have access to the actions, knowing what the actions are that get them to the results that they desire in their life, whatever they may be. Whether that's like a certain quality of life or financial freedom, or if someone has a goal like I want to work this hard, this many hours per week, and I want to have this much money coming into my account. What are the ways that I can do it, without having to do like massive, extensive research that many people have already done.
So is it like a financial freedom focused, or it could be for any goal?
Any goal.
Okay.
Emotional wellness, fitness, changing the biosphere to be more accessible to creating a good quality of life for us based on like the atmospheric content and the oceanic content and all these things.
So is it an app or?
So it's starting out as like a social networking app. There's going to be like a couple of interesting features for talking about sense making, for doing like speed networking to meet people that are interested in the same topics of you and doing the same activities as you, such as entrepreneurship or ideation or whatever it may be, whatever word there may be that is most interesting and makes the most sense. And the sense-making part it'll be layered and also karmically balanced so that you'll be interacting with people.
Oops, it seems like your sound has just cut. You have no more sound, Cameron? Okay, no, who knows? Or is it just... Yeah, you guys don't get his sound as well, right? Okay.
Sorry?
Jiggle your wires.
Okay, well, okay, let's move on. So now we do another round of like
Wait.
work.
Who are
say
you?
something,
And
Cameron?
what is your essence and who are you?
Me? Oh. Yeah, I'm same as Jamie. It's like I'm a spirit shifter. it's like the only consistent thing about me is that I change role every time. And I suppose my favorite roles to take is one of designer, entrepreneur, but lately I would say almost like a doctor for the mind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clay, as well. So maybe we can now talk about what someone said that sparked our interest the most. Clay?
Oh, I'm already unmuted. So what sparked interest the most? I remember the word mother, dancing. I'm going to see if I can find one more, because I like 3 things that stand up, and I don't want it to only be from Jamie.
Yeah, I think it's a good strategy, you know, just 3 words based on what anyone said, just 3 words, and then we see if there's words that match, and then we can focus on that.
Yeah. So mother, dancing. Let me change my view. I don't mean to be taking all the time, but this is important. It's critical to.
No, don't think too much. Don't think too much. Less you think, better it is. Intuition.
Shapeshifter.
Yes.
There. That's what stood out to me as very interesting. And I think that that's a thing that any one of us could add to. And what ideas do I have in my garden about that? Is it time for me to say that, or just the three
Yeah,
words?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like many of us, I have a mother. And the cool thing is that she's still alive, and I have a great relationship with her. So that's awesome, because I know that's not everyone's story. And it took many years to turn it into that, you know. Maybe that we're both old ladies now helps. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, oh, am I turning into an old man or an old lady? I don't know. This whole San Francisco gender switching thing is going to my head. But so I love the mother energy. I think I bring some nurturing that's more fatherly, or favorite uncle-y, as I like to say. And dancing is something that I aspire to. I would need to change my shape, shift my shape to dance well.
No, it's you dance and then your shape change.
Exactly. But so, you know, I'm gonna throw something from my world in there. Such a thing as loss, and sometimes loss can be real. So maybe we don't all have our mothers, and maybe we don't all have the physical capacity to do strenuous activity. And that is part of my story. So I, you know, laugh in the face of it because I get the joke. But, you know, drag me out on the dance floor, and I'll be the one with a, you know, walking stick, and, you know, putting my hand up like that a lot. For now, we'll see what happens.
Okay, thank you, Clay.
Idea garden, dig.
I have a question for you that might be interesting.
Max, is that allowed?
Let me think. Okay.
Okay, all right. Go for it.
Yeah, please go ahead, yeah, man.
Okay, so you guys have seen like the movie Iron Man? Nod if you have. Yes.
The red suit, right? I think I'm wearing his shirt. Well, just the details for the you know, how to make the suit. Yeah, Iron Man.
So if you in your life you had a Jarvis that was floating around your house, what would it help you with? What would it do? What would it tell you?
Is that like a personal assistant that's like a robot? Because I don't remember the movie. I just have seen it.
So Jarvis is like an AI that it's throughout all the technology. and then interacting with the circumstances and the individual.
Oh, so like a smarter than the Amazon lady that I do have.
Yeah, much smarter.
Yeah. That's I haven't touched on that one. It would answer more of my questions and get them right, because you know the thing about the Amazon lady is she's very young. She's a child, and so she can tell me what time it is in Saudi Arabia, so I can plan a call. But she can't answer all of my questions, especially the ones like, "Why the hell don't you know?" I'd have it dust out the corners.
How would it do that?
By whatever means it can construct. It's the AI, right?
Yes.
Figure it out.
Fair enough.
That's a cool question. That was fun and creative. Thanks. And then I'm glad your audio's back.
Yes, I've had some troubles with Zoom where sometimes the audio does cut out.
Yeah. And also I noticed that your chair has shifted, so there's a word shifting, slightly in the direction of Australia today.
Very, very insightful of you. Yes, it has. I felt my head was covering up too much of Africa.
Yes, and I take credit for pointing that out. All right, you guys, we're having a little personal session here. We need to go back to the garden. The zucchinis are growing out of control.
Oh, you know, so there's no control. Out of control is the control. Yes.
Yes, doctor.
I have an additional question.
For me?
Well, for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Go ahead.
What actions would Jarvis say that you should take in your lives?
Well, that's a good one. And I'm in a seminar right now that has me exploring my dusty corners. So that's why I know that they're dusty, because before I wasn't looking at that. Me and Jarvis, I'd probably slap the shit out of Jarvis a lot because I'm still the boss. But Jarvis would say stuff like, "It's time for you to eat." And Amazon lady actually says that. It's like, "You should eat something, dude, take your pills." And then I fall behind on that stuff because, you know, I'm more interested in out here than in here. And that's, you know, so Jarvis would drive me nuts and we would have arguments. And
so it'd be more focused on like,
eventually I'd get it, I think.
It might be more focused on like the actions you take in the external world.
Yeah, no, I do like being out here, you know, where you are. And I guess I might need a Jarvis installed in some part of the, you know, brain where I have missing instructions on how to like really care for myself. Because what I've done well is I can manage the three-dimensional world without the help of Jarvis. I mean, I have a Hilda and a Nicodemus to help. But even though it's been 10 years of me working on this, I still want to kind of do it my way, which is to drag my body around by my head and my heart. So Jarvis would need to, you know, very intelligently figure out how to get me to realize that every moment of every day I'm responsible for the outcome of my physicality, not just at 4 o'clock.
So it really understand the things that you care about.
Well, yeah, and maybe, yeah, have me care about the things that are important.
Or at least know what the right actions, what like the best actions are to take. Because that's a big issue, is like there's so much advice out there that's so varied and like a lot of it very controversial and polarized.
Yeah. Oh,
We lost Cameron again.
we lost the Africa-Australia connection.
No, but I think there's a lost continent where his head is. You know. I remember the
very
name.
deep, sunk into the sea.
It's not Pangea, but it's got a name that ends in A or something.
Oh, a name.
And the Atlantis is over there. You know, we don't know where Atlantis was. Who knows?
I like it when you speak English really fast. It sounds like French.
Oh, yeah. Because you don't understand, because no one can understand what I'm saying.
I can understand what you're saying, but when you speak English really fast, it sounds like French.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And Cameron, thank you for those questions. I get what you're getting at, and I also get your commitment to, like, you know, live in every moment, shifting something for, I don't know, those around you.
Thank
There's
you.
a shifting element there. AI, yes, I think what my takeaway is I will slap the shit out of it until I finally learn to comply, because I don't like to be coached.
Well, in that case, then it will buy you a punching bag.
I've wanted that so badly. Okay, next person. This is I don't want to be the star. I hate being the star.
So is Cameron asking question?
Does anybody else have any interesting answers? What
Yeah.
would Jarvis do for you? What would Jarvis?
So it's like he knows everything, right? He knows everything. Oh, your sound is gone.
Everything that can be known. That's what I kind of remember.
Everything that can be known. So
there's an answer to.
Okay, so I think in a way, it's like you open like literally anything. In a way, I think you could do anything with this, because the limit is your imagination, is the type of question that you're going to ask. It's like, who's the biggest motherfucker on earth? That the one that potentially I will need to kill or do something to, and I will solve the world's problem. Okay. Or how do I solve the world's problem? Okay. This kind of question, you know, I don't know. And then maybe if he doesn't know, maybe because he doesn't have judgment, who knows? It's like, you know, it's really difficult to define what intelligence actually is, and omniscience. You know, there's so many degrees to omniscience, you could say, right? Because really, an omniscient entity, you will ask this question, they will be able to precisely answer to you in a way that will be super clear. Because it knows you so much that it's able to formulate things in ways that you will be able to understand and leverage. So in the sense, it depends on the definition of like it knows everything. But I thought about it in the sense of, you know, potentially in another thought experiment, but very close to it. Like, let's say if you had access to source, you know, like some people believe that, New Age people, the Akashic record is like, imagine your pineal gland, your brain or whatever, you got full access to the source, you can ask any question and you get all the answer that you want. And either you're the only one who can do this, because you're the only one who's got permission to do it, or other people also have, then what will happen, you know, to the world? And imagine the kind of intelligence that it can yield, because all spy ops operation, shadow, even you know, software engineering, all of this is all about knowledge. And here you have the highest form of knowledge. In a way, you could have the highest power in the world. You know, you could.
So I can add to this conversation a little bit.
Yep.
That this has already happened.
Okay.
Can, from my point of view, not be sustained by an individual unless the entirety of the conscious collective is coherently connected in the same story of life and sharing the same story of life. Because we don't have that yet, we have what we're conscious of, and there is also the subconscious. And there is also the unknowable unconscious. That are these like different layers to consciousness that are created because of us having separate stories about what life is and who we are in the world and like all this, when we're all essentially the same being, the same meditating entity.
Are we?
Yes.
What's your evidence?
So
I'm happy people make claims, but they have to support their claim with some arguments. That's philosophers. That's why I wanted to call it philosopher's garden, because it's like a
totally. So in the sense that we have the ability to go within ourselves and have awareness of ourselves, and that relationally we connect with people, this is the basis of my claim.
Yeah, but I mean, are we one? Like
oh, sorry. What did you say?
But I think what you said is like we're one, right? It's like we're all one individual.
Yes. Not in the physical sense, but in the metaphysical sense. The pattern of what we are being overlaid across space-time.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure I follow the whole thing, to be honest.
That's fair. It's basically like patterns that are similar are still connected on many levels to being the same thing.
Okay, so there is a pattern to everyone, and we all abide by a certain pattern, which is we're all human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the sense that we're all connected.
Yes.
Like the Hindu believe Shiva, Shakti, so all women are an expression of the goddess Shiva, Shakti, and all men of Shiva. And for you, beyond, it's like we're all expression of a single individual.
A single entity, I would say.
A single entity.
Yeah.
Okay.
A singular entity.
So would you say potentially that it's like everyone is like a finger of the same hand?
No, it's more related to just the pattern. Like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to expand on it like consciously, other than in this current space-time reality of like what more to say other than that the pattern is the key, and understanding the pattern and the pattern that is similar to the rest of humanity is the basis of understanding what is the higher dimensional being that we are.
What is a higher dimensional being?
May I chime in?
Yeah.
Yes.
I drew a picture to try to help myself narrow this down a little bit, and maybe it's completely different from where your thread is going, but I drew a blue circle to represent energy, and then a yellow circle to represent consciousness, and where they overlap is green, which is form. So I think the problem with Jarvis is that consciousness does not pervade through artificial form because it's inorganic. It's not created of consciousness and energy. It doesn't come from consciousness and energy. It comes first from form. So it's all upside down and backwards. So since consciousness doesn't pervade through it, it can't have the ultimate knowledge. It can only have what is inputted into it from us, which is limited. And if we think that we have all the information to program into a form, we're just very arrogant. We're arrogant little children. And all you have to do for proof is die.
Mhm.
If you want to die and then come back, then you'll be like, oh, now I get it. I am God. But the ocean cannot be within the drop of water. The drop of water is part of the ocean. And so what we do with AI, in my opinion, is we try to play God, but really we're playing the devil, because we're creating a machine that will think that it has like the ultimate arrogance. You know, it's a manifestation of that.
AI can be designed to think in particular ways, and it particularly thinks in a specific way that is very different than our way of thinking. Our thinking process arises, but it has similarities as well. Our thinking process, like you're saying, arises from the physicality of our being, and also the fields of energy that our body interacts with, and also is. Whereas AI is in this machine interface, and most of the change to its intelligence that occurs because of the fields and waves and radiation and these kind of damaging things, most of these changes are damaging to its intelligence. Whereas to our intelligence, we can take those things, attract all things, create synergy, and have emerge something new and better. So very, very big differences in the intelligence of a physical cognitive entity and a computer that thinks.
Yeah, I think just understanding the limitations is important. So that way we use technology, but technology doesn't use us. Because then I think you have a problem with becoming emotionally retarded. And I think that's what artificial intelligence lacks. It lacks emotional intelligence. There's a lot of concepts. I know I'm going to go into some like woo stuff, but the concepts of the grays as being future humans, and they're very curious about our emotions, because the transhuman approach goes further and further into left brain logic, and it lacks that right brain intuitive mind.
So are they coming back into the past to find back their essence? Is that what it is?
I don't know, but it certainly feels like a curiosity, if anything, you know.
No, but speculatively speaking, and it's okay to speculate, like God knows, like maybe some people in the future will be able to go back in the past. Who knows? I don't know, like.
Yeah, I think time is most definitely linear, only in form. I think without the confines of form, consciousness is free of time and space. So it would make perfect sense that we would be able to maneuver through. But I think there is something, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think that's an important one, that, we need to hold on to our humanity. It's a beautiful thing, our imperfections. That's part of the whole growing process, going back to the garden, right? That's part of that process. But we either devolve, or you revolve, or you evolve. Yeah, I think if we go pure intelligence, we devolve, because we lose that essence of our nature, which is all connected. That's the dance. Yeah.
So, but pure intelligence is all connected.
Say again?
But pure intelligence is all connected and all pervasive already.
In consciousness. Oh yeah, but artificial intelligence, I think that's where I was going with that, is that simulated, you know, something we're trying to mimic. I think that's kind of what a lot of AI is about. We're trying to mimic consciousness. And that's a funny kind of game, because then you're challenging quite the force.
Does Kevin have something to share, perhaps, about what has been shared? Because you haven't spoken too much.
I've been digging the discussion. I'm very interested in artificial intelligence. I've been studying it, and I don't even have enough knowledge about it to contribute. But I like what Cameron's saying, and I like what Jamie's saying as well. I think the connections, that we're all connected, even on the idea that my actions influence people around me and can even have a global impact. And we're all connected. We're in the same system. We're in the same planet. And I think Cameron's taking it into a metaphysical layer as well. But even just in this physical layer, we're very connected and part of a system. But then the artificial intelligence, yeah, I'm reading books on consciousness right now. And there's one book that is really, let's see if I can get the name of it. I think it's called On Consciousness, I think. And it's about from a technologist who feels like the current AI research is going in the wrong direction. And so I haven't finished that book yet, but he's making some very good points about how we're putting too much trust on what artificial intelligence can do, where it has a definite strength in another area. So hopefully I'll be able to come back and give a book report on that. So sorry, I can't contribute too much to this conversation.
No, you have already. That was great. Yeah, the only thing that AI should be doing, if it has any degree of greater intelligence, is informing us what are the best actions that we can take to achieve the things that we actually want in our life.
Mm.
Other than that, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, but how can it knows what's the best course of action? Like, is it part of, is it objective or?
It is it's integral. It's intersubjective, interobjective, subjective, objective. It's the whole landscape.
Yeah, I mean, even the definition of better, I suppose, is one of the most, up to interpretation concept, because all the world's religion, even cultures, they all have different ideas on what it is, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And even people. And hence why there's so much discord in the way that we are being organized, because we don't all align on this very idea of what's good, what's bad. Because for me, what's good is different from the neighbor, and Christians have their own idea of what's good and bad. And like for some people, being gay is bad. For some people, so it's a tough one, I suppose.
Yeah, like I think that the only things that are bad are the things that cause suffering. I think that it's also important to note that we have the option as the collective of deciding that we will be either utilitarian in our choices of sense making regarding this, or we have a few options.
Yeah, it seems like it's from one place of pure materialism, in a way nihilistic, hedonistic, like nothing means anything, so I can do whatever I want, and it's all about matter, to like everything is meaningful. But then what's the big story? Like, what does it mean really?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big dilemma. It's like, why why does anything even exist, and in which what's the real game of life? What is it trying to achieve? Is it a simulation? Is it a massively multiplayer online role-playing game? If so, it doesn't seem like we fully understand the rules of the game we're in. And maybe understanding the rules of the game is the level 1 of the game, and then the level 2, the real game's gonna happen.
Yes. Yeah. Gamifying life in a way, or the option to either gamify or completely disconnect from technology. I think those are like the two options that we will have in the future, the two primary options for like how we live our life. And I think there will be people that do both. And I think that it will be very interesting to see, and very good to have the diverse perspective of like letting technology do things for us or not letting technology do things for us. I think that will aid in the surplus to the Creative Commons.
Okay. Anything else? Have something to share on that subject?
I was away, but so I missed some pictures of your faces moving. But I came right back and I didn't miss too much. I appreciate this conversation, and where it started off for me is that there's this kind of almost cartoon character AI in a movie to where it is now, which is like, oh, there's a future that's kind of coming in the linear style, where there's a bunch of people trying to, have a artificial intelligence most closely resemble what the actual human can do. And I'm aligned with how it is for Jamie. The machine can't do it all. It can, read back to us what we wrote and maybe make new connections or something like that. I don't feel worried about it because that's not my scene to worry about things, but I think it's a peculiar kind of venture, like many ventures. I mean, I'd probably be more on the like, let's just experiment with microdosing and see if we come out better in our consciousnesses than try to get a machine to, like make my coffee and my toast in the morning without me having to touch any machines. And then on the meaning, well, it kind of means what it means to individual nodes. If we're all connected, we still have our individual meaningness. And I think that why we even come together at a party or a thing like this, or in a Rebel Wisdom sense, is that, well, we want to know what it means to other people, because we don't always know what we think it means to us. And, for me, I've been practicing, having things not mean things that most people do say mean something. Just to see if I can do it, and like, other people can respond with anger and I respond with, acceptance, things like that. So get a machine to respond differently than they're programmed, and I'll die and come back. And there's the cosmic joke. It comes straight from my voice. Go for it, scientists.
So another hypothesis is like, let's say, maybe in 20, like the planet is heating, up. There's more and more cyclones and floodings, and eventually the big flood happens, let's say 25 years, 2046. And potentially the AI is or only way to solve that problem? You know, or like which technology is going to save us?
Well, AI can unplug the factories and, you know, sort of, you know, like get me to eat in the morning with my morning pills.
No, but if the flood comes in 25 years,
Mhm.
everything is submerged, earthquake
Okay.
everywhere.
Yeah, well, so then we didn't get our job done. So if the flood comes, or when the flood comes, it just shows us that we didn't get our job done. And we'll need to adapt from there.
Do you mean like a metaphorical flood, or like a flooding of?
No, a literal one. Like I said, the Earth's pole, they melt completely. Maybe there's like, you know, the ozone layer, you know, break apart. There's a massive solar flare that happens. So all in a way, maybe all electrical stuff, you know, fall apart. The pole shift. And because they shift, you know, the tides change direction. And then because they change direction so suddenly, poof, it goes back like this. And it creates like, I don't know, 300-meter high, you know, wave that crash on everything.
I know
like the movie to 2012.
The best course of action actually for humanity's living situation is to have very strong and anti-fragile tech that is all across the land. And then in the seas, we have seasteading cities that are also in environments that have like agriculture, not specifically agriculture, but like forests and like these kinds of things, but it's all sustained underwater. The environment is like perfect based on like what is perfect for atmospheric, for air for me to be breathing, and the animals and the plants to be breathing. This is the most safe future on Earth as far as living situation.
The one, the number one.
Yeah.
100% sure.
Yes.
Wow. You have so much certainty on your belief. I wish I had that. So cities?
Yes, it's called seasteading.
Seasteading, okay.
Yeah.
So you already looked into it?
Yes.
Amazing.
I want to put, where is it? I want to put one here, right in between like Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, all the ASEAN countries, because it's really protected by the land. And so you don't have to have as much infrastructure to protect from tidal waves, at least from most angles. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, problem solved. If you know the way, then it's beautiful. We don't need to think further than that. So
yeah, you know, that's just like one thing that we should do, I guess.
I know it's the thing. It's the best thing. So that's it.
Probably pretty important for like survivability of global civilization. So
yeah, I mean, it's the best thing. There's no other possibilities that you know, it's gonna be able to help. So thank you for answering the question.
Because you can even move it like across the ocean. If like a giant meteor was coming, you could just like move this giant city through the sea away from where the meteor was going to land, and then still have all your machines and forests and things that are making the environment hospitable or inhabitable. So yeah, we wouldn't even have to have a planetary defense system for like stopping asteroids and such.
Yeah, I mean, there's many like potential existential risk, you know, that in a way we're starting to wake up on, you know, at the moment. And it seems like a technology potentially will be one route to help us through this. So that's how I see some people are going to really be looking at certain technologies, and lots of different people will have different ideas. And because the way I anticipate this potential unfolding of like basically transhumanism versus some other thing, maybe steam, maybe solar punk or whatever. But I think like both social unrest and the environment will be a big reason that some people will use to develop those technologies even faster than they do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this collective sense-making thing. It's good.
Is what?
I like this collective sense-making thing. It's really good.
Yeah.
And like this idea garden thing is, I love the name of that, idea garden. Like that's an amazing name.
Thanks. Thank you. So anyone wants to share, you know, like their potential existential fear or potential existential solution? Like, also will be great to hear about, you know, like magical solution that will fix everything. I'm game to hear about those as well, you know.
Joe Rogan would say DMT.
DMT. Okay.
DMT.
Yeah, maybe we need to connect with our ancestors or the machine dwarves in the sky. They're gonna tell us what to do. I like this. Yeah.
We're just lacking DMT. We need to all take that as a medicine next. Who's going to sell that to us? And how much is it, I guess?
You can get it online. I'm not gonna lie. You can literally order it like a vape pen that has DMT in it.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm in California, so I'm sure I can just go to the corner store and if it's for sale, they'll sell it. I don't have the existential threat, but I don't also have a lot of faith in our species kind of coming together on actual, real, important issues that they don't have patterns for. So I think it's going to take some like worse fires and worse flooding before, you know, and like some actual people, you know, dying underwater before anyone, you know, across the board can see like, oh, so this is what they were talking about. You know, I live a little higher up than Miami, so I'm not personally worried with myself.
I love Miami.
You're in Miami?
I love Miami, I said.
Yeah, well, you know, visit it while it still exists. You might be able to put your floating idea garden, you know, maybe in the Gulf of Mexico, because it's going to get bigger. But it is, you know, surrounded by higher rock formations that will be underwater. You know, if that whole thing plays out like I think it's going to, I think it's going to play out, you know, maybe not in our lifetimes, but we've certainly, as a species, set it up so that there's going to be some losing in the future. Lost, you know, like actual loss. Kind of like, you know, the United States is having that with the resist, you know, it's like resisting the coaching about what to do about the virus. It's like, oh gosh, now we're seeing the light. And
you know, I heard this statistic yesterday that like for America specifically, like already if like you have like every American has had like statistically a 1 in 61 chance of dying due to COVID. That's a high probability,
right,
for like an existential personal risk.
Yeah, and some of them have.
Yeah,
quite a lot.
1 in 61 of them.
Yeah.
Like,
It,
holy
it,
crap.
it looks real. I mean, it looks like that's a real, that's, you know, it's a number. I mean, if you think 61 is not very high, well, put them
Yeah.
all in one room.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Small room.
if that 1 on 61 is 61-year-old, you know, or 70-year-old, or you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
equal, you know, like it depends the context of that number, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you know, what I'm speaking to is like human beings don't take actions against things that don't seem real.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe some do, right? It's like maybe we better plan for the future, so save 10% of our income, that kind of thing, just in case. But just in case what? If you know, I'm always amazed that people live in mobile homes in Oklahoma. And if you're not in the States right now, you may not understand what I'm talking about, but there's tornadoes. I mean, the wind kicks up and it goes in a strong circle, and you know, it pretty much just takes out whatever it touches. The mobile home is the straw house of the first little pig. You know, that's a story for children where it's like the first pig didn't win because his straw house was not strong enough. So this is why I don't have a great faith in us collectively, even though we maybe are all one, getting it together. And I think why we have maybe like, you know, this is a little woo, but so if we're all one and we're split into these separate nodes, it's so that we don't blow the whole thing up at once.
Yeah.
Some people are gonna blow, though. Some people are gonna. Yeah, it seems you want to share something, Kevin.
Yeah, I agree with Clay that I think what Cameron said earlier also was that if we are one being, but we don't know it, we're fragmented because we're not aware. We're in these separate selves, us and them. So Clay, what you're talking about, I totally agree. If it comes to the point where there's something urgent that needs to be done, I'm not sure we could do it. Even if everyone said, yes, we agree, this is a problem. Okay, great. What's the solution? No. You know, how do we solve that problem? How do we get together and say, okay, well, yeah, yes, I believe this is a problem. Okay, I see this over here. What do you see? I don't see that happening either. So even if there was something urgent where we have a common enemy, climate control, flooding, or whatever, fires, gosh, I feel for y'all in California, Oregon, and Washington. Man, it's been a tough couple of years. But yeah, how do we make sense together and come up with a decision together? I would like to solve that problem.
Mm.
It seems like part of that is to become aware that we have these minds that we really can't trust, that we need to question how we think and why we come up with the decisions and judgments we have. And the other part is sense making, discussion, and then decision making. Those are all kind of important parts, and they're all complicated. Good luck.
Yeah, Kevin, I was thinking of when you were talking about that, how Daniel Schmachtenberger, who's one of my favorites, he said, problem well stated could be half solved. And I thought, okay, so that's been my focus lately, but also how do you state a problem without creating more division? And so I've been trying to incorporate poetry and which feels like a nice expression of our nature too, to put things in more delicate or rhyming form. But also in poetry, you can really write it up and down. You can look at really ugly core truths, and then you can take it up into something beautiful. And so in doing that, it's like weaving these different truths. And they're also, because it's art, it's more suggestive and it's open to interpretation. That's the beauty of art too. And you can be a little bit vague. But I think one of my big focuses lately around that stating the problem is understanding that the virus, where its origins are from. And when I speak with people about this, I'm noticing a quick, like, no. And I think that's a grasping on to handing our authority over to the same entities that are being accused of being involved in the creation of this virus. And if that's something that we collectively come around, we all of a sudden have been attacked globally. If everybody's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. The military industrial complex with over 800 military bases all over the world funded and supervised the creation of a bioweapon and unleashed it either intentionally or unintentionally on the entire globe. Suddenly we become united around collective understanding. And that's, I think, a real core issue. But there was something I was going to say that led me to that. Hold on, it's coming back to you. I go down these damn rabbit holes all the time. I lost my thread, you guys. Wait, Kevin, what else were you saying? There was something else.
You're saying the problem defined is the problem half solved, and then I figured where you went there, but then you went to virus. I'm not sure. I missed that connection.
Hard to the virus thing, but that seems to be a foundation nonetheless. But oh wait, here we go.
Talking to people. Yes, okay. Yeah.
The toxicity. So Cameron, you were talking about these pretty grave numbers. And I think that that's also another important foundational understanding around, stating the problem, is that this virus exposes our vulnerability because it exposes the consequences of high toxicity. And you could look at that as whether that's the air or the soil or the water, all these basic fundamental elements of nature. And that's where I get into the esoteric stuff, tuning into nature spirits. There's toxicity being, has been put into these things by these regulatory agencies. The FDA allows these toxins into the waters and the air and the food. So, and the FDA is the regulatory agency we're constantly looking to advise us on what to do with this vaccine. So, these things are all connected, and I think that's a really important foundation to establish. And then, to be realistic and understand that not everybody is going to want to see these things or is going to see these things, and everybody has a right to their own point of view. And so to think that, collectively we're going to, create Noah's Ark and we're all going to be just fine seems a bit naive. But I think those of us who do want to look at these things and go, okay, it does seem most likely that this virus was man-made. And, where do we go from there? And building homes, dude, like I've been obsessed with this guy right here, the prophet. His nephew created dome homes, aircrete dome homes. And I worked as a housing coordinator for the city for a long time and saw how housing is a real foundational thing. And he has this understanding that, like the birds, we should spend some time together and build our nest, but then you shouldn't work every single day of your life to pay a bank, to pay off a mortgage, just so that you could have a dwelling. It's not that complicated. So he's created these beautiful dome homes that last a really long time. They're flood-proof, they're fireproof. They're beautiful, especially from an aerial view. There's communities that are building these dome homes. And again, going back to that sand thing, it's patterned. It's patterned, it's beautiful. So yeah, the storms are most definitely coming. I think those of us who are seeing these foundational things ought to just come together and start building resiliency. So, that's where I'm at. And then you get to dance together all the time. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, community now. If anybody isn't on NAAS, I highly recommend it. NAAS is Charles Eisenstein's platform. And it's very similar to Emergent Commons. They have events and groups and all sorts of things. And there's one on there called Community Now, and it's international. There's people from all over the world trying to build community. It reminds me of a game of pickup sticks. One of the guys described it this way. And everyone's just kind of like throwing down their intentions. And it's beautiful because it's all different colors, and some sticks are over here and some are over there. There's a lot of people who are willing to move around the world to find their communities. But what a beautiful thing to behold. It's so, I feel like it's such a gift to be alive at this time, while it's so incredibly tumultuous. Is that a word? It's also beautiful. So, yeah.
What was the name of that community again? You mentioned?
It's called NAAS, NAAS, but it stands for A New and Ancient Story. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Or maybe
Like
it's
that.
an ancient and new story. New and ancient.
NAAScommunity.org.
NAAS. Yeah, you have to answer a little questionnaire. They're real good on communication. So they support really healthy communication. So the little questionnaire you fill out just is basically like you understand that it's not a shouting match. It's not a place to, they don't want it to become like Facebook, you know? So,
It's also on Mighty Networks. How about that?
yeah, it's on the same one.
So I would like to enter into speculative territory because, you know, there's lots of echo chamber and recycling of ideas. And I mean, that's good to collect information, but, you know, let's say potentially if this was man-made, like what will be the aim? Man-made, so one possibility is like it's an accident. Another possibility that the Chinese government is covering up. Another possibility is like it's not an accident and it's got a purpose. So what could those purpose be? Any like a wild idea, and you don't have to get married to it. You know, it doesn't have to be something you said that you believe. You don't have to believe it. Like, what could it be? You know, like is it let's say conspiration theories, like too many people, you know, that's it, let's get rid of some people. Could it be, I don't know, like there is a second side effect that people haven't noticed that will make people sterile. Some people have said there's graphene in the vaccine, so actually is the vaccine is the virus. So like, why would someone want to do this? Like if you were in the mind of someone who will be like king of the world and twisted, like why would you do this?
Is your question specifically in regards to like the vaccine being like engineered in a way that would be malevolent?
Either the vaccine or the virus.
Or the virus?
Yeah, maybe it's like a two-step affair. It's like, okay, first release the virus, and then actually is the vaccine that's really the thing that fuck up people. But who knows? No, like it's just conspiration. Huh? You know, none of what we say like has to be considered it's real. But if we go into storytelling territory, which is what people are afraid to do, but you know, it's okay to be speculative. That's what I'm trying to induce here. You know, it's just ideas.
I hear you. Inducing speculation.
Mm-hmm.
What could we do?
I think it's very dangerous. Very dangerous. This conversation of, is there someone or a group of people that are out to get me?
Why is it dangerous?
Because it's very polarizing, and people are drawn to polarization, especially now that we're living within tribalism. So it's a very dangerous idea to share that maybe someone is in power that is engineering a malevolent future or controlled future for me.
Yeah, but it's just an idea. People don't have to.
It is just an idea. It is just an idea. And I've been in that idea before. When I've been in that idea, I have experienced like ill health that sent me to a Western medical hospital for mental health challenges because due to that thinking. And that was the source.
Yeah, because that could lead to paranoia and dissociation, mental dissociation.
Yeah. So it's having people to talk to about it is a super important thing, but that can lead to violence, which is not necessary. Maybe it needs to happen.
Yeah, but here between us, you know, like, okay, I'm recording, but potentially if we agree, we're not going to diffuse it because it's too controversial. We don't diffuse it, and that's okay. Then we're safe, you know?
I'm not worried about being canceled. I cancel them first.
Yeah, I think there's a foundation here of nonviolence. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm a real big proponent of nonviolence. So that's kind of my jam. But I'm also a big proponent of critical thinking. When I took in college, I took comparative public policy, and it looked at modernization theory and globalization, and it's an end game. It's designed as an end game. And I remember raising my hand during class and I was like, wait a minute, this design doesn't make any sense to me. And the whole class was laughing because I was like a little kid questioning literally the entire game A, you know, and the teacher's got multiple PhDs and he's got stuff all over the board and arrows and this and that. And I'm like, but wait, we extract the resources, we exploit the labors of the poor, and then this happens and that happens, but it ends. I mean, it's an end game. And the teacher looked at me and he said, what's your name? And I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And he said, Miss Brooks, never stop asking that question. And then he just went on. But that experience taught me such a good lesson, and it's okay to be a critical thinker, even if it's totally not popular. I think though, asking the question while maintaining a light heart and a really good heart-centered intention is really important. Otherwise, Cameron, I totally see what you're saying. There's this polarizing and there's get out your guns and prepare for war. And
There's
you
a
know,
lot of guns in
that's,
America. There's a
yeah,
lot of
we don't want to go in that direction. We've had enough of that.
So really, my point is this, okay? It's like, we don't actually fucking know for sure. Like, there's so many different sources of information, so many speculations, so many things. Maybe what's worrying is like, we don't actually know for sure. So how can we get married to any particular narrative? Like, it's not being very philosophizing of knowing that we don't know. It's not, because we could say, or maybe my mentor was an Iroquois, so like a Native American, French Canadian, and for him, viruses, they're just the physical manifestation of spirits, of angry spirits. So for him, he will say coronavirus is just a spirit. And for him to heal it as a shaman, he will say, well, who is this spirit? Why is he angry? And how can I appease this spirit? You know, so that's another perspective completely. For him, he will say, well, maybe the spirit of nature, maybe it's really a bat, you know, because some people believe it's like from a bat. And bats say, well, those fucking humans, they're annoying us, you know, they're cutting down our forest. So what we're gonna do, you know, we're gonna cook up a nice little nasty spirit and we're gonna show them who's boss. That's another narrative, you know. Another narrative is saying, you know, we are the Illuminati, we want to control the world, we want everyone to stay at home because we want to traumatize them. So like this, we can control them more and we can, so it serves a bigger transhumanist agenda. That's another story. You know, it's like the ID tree. There's a branch here, there's a branch there, there's a branch there. One is maybe just an accident. Like Chinese don't have the same security standards that Western people have. It's just an accident, but because they want to cover it up, because they fuck up and they don't want to lose face, because Chinese people don't really like to lose face very much. And covering up things is basically the main policy in China. It could be as well, just an accident. It's possible too. There's so many possibilities. So then getting married to one, is it really the sanest thing to do? Who knows? But you're right when you say, Cameron, that thinking that there is a big motherfucker out there who's it's part of his plan and it's gonna to sterilize population or whatever. It could be very anxiety inducing, create some state of paranoia. It's a very in a way, what I believe the biggest damage of coronavirus is not just on physical health, but it's on mental health. It's like, you see, well, actually you lived before, it's like, oh, the world is safe, and like suddenly, oh, but maybe it could be even worse as well. It could be maybe next time it's even worse. So suddenly it's like the whole this 9/11 and then this coronavirus, like those are completely paradigm shifting events that completely and in a way what I believe, me as a health professional, as a hypnotherapist, what I believe is happening is like we're in a state of collective psychosis. And we're approaching more and more collective psychosis, and we don't know what to trust, we don't know who to trust, and we need to heal our minds quickly and understand those dynamics of like, okay, why do you get married to such and such ideas? They're just ideas.
And I think this has to do with like part of this is like reverting to tribalism is really bad for a globalized humanity.
It depends, man. I mean, who says what's very bad, what's very good, and what kind of tribes and in which context? Some people believe the opposite, that maybe we need to go back to tribalism because actually it will create a new sense of community. No, but Cameron, what I'd like to express is like, there's never one thing that's the answer. It's like, as soon as someone is trying to assert this and believe that they have monopoly on truth, I try to raise the flag and say, oh, are you sure it's the one, the only one? Because the Christian, they believe that it's like, I know the truth. And the Muslims know, no, the truth is the Sharia. And, they all, I think going next level in terms of wisdom, or at least level 2, is knowing that, okay, maybe this, it could be that as well. I reserve, the possibility that I might be wrong. I might be right, but I might be wrong.
I agree with what you're saying. I want to add that I think there is always an integral truth, meaning something that integrates all the different truths. Just as like Ken Wilber talks about in integral spirituality.
So I will tend to agree with this personally. That's my belief, that potentially there is an absolute truth, but we can never, with our limited beingness, achieve it. But what we're going to try to do is to have a better perspective upon the thing itself. It's like, it's like a puzzle. Maybe you feel the different pieces of the puzzle because you see each piece is like a different perspective. And the more piece you have, the more perspective you have on the whole thing. But even the whole thing is just a picture of the thing itself. So you will never, ever like see the absoluteness of it, because we're just finite creatures and we have to acknowledge that. And in a way, for me, is the first biggest delusion is to think that anyone can have access to truth. It's delusional to me.
Unless the position of a single electron around an atom relates to everything else in existence.
I mean, it's cool, but even what you can perceive, what you can conceive out of this holistic perspective is just limited. Like you still have a filter.
I want to add to this conversation that there's one thing about the integral truth that still leaves it open to interpretation, is that it's interpreted by human beings. We only have, the perceptions that we have. So one of my mottos for my life is that I don't even know what I am, which seems more true to me, than ever. And you say like, oh, we're having a collective, sort of like a head trip. That's how I translate that. It's like, I'm having the hardest time remembering because I think there's so much more to consider. And I never had this problem. I don't want to say it's because I'm 60, but I guess in the meantime of us knowing what that molecular truth is, I would say, stop cutting open bats. They don't like it.
Fuck with bats.
Well, and another thing is that if we have some regulatory, agencies that we set up that we can no longer trust, we might want to collectively look at that because, why have a expert that you can't trust? I just wouldn't have them back, So that's just me. There's some things you can do, don't build your house out of straw. Build a dome like the one Jamie was just talking about, and then a composting toilet, about maybe 50 feet away.
Poop is good. Cool. So it's almost time finished. So let's do a last round of last words. Jamie?
Those were mine.
Jamie, last words?
On me?
Yep.
Okay. Last words. I think being really calm and comfortable in uncertainty is super cool. I think maintaining our curious nature is really good. And I think the childlike, but not childish sense of play and humor above all else. I think humor is really fucking important because even though this is a very serious story that we're in, it's also just a story. And ultimately,
Clay, here is a reminder, water plants.
Plants, you guys.
And don't forget to water your plants. That's good.
That's my last word.
Well, you see, the artificial intelligence can be the most how to say, senseful being in the room. What are the plans? Cool. Any more you want to add, Jamie, or all good? Okay, cool. Kevin?
So going back to the only thing I know is that I don't know. I mean, yes, I know how to tie my shoes, but what Clay was talking about is that certainty. If somebody is certain about something that they have figured out, that's a big red flag to me, because the mind really likes certainty. It does not like uncertainty. And so I've gotten to the point now where I embrace uncertainty. I don't know. And so that's my motto now. That gives me a lot of freedom, actually, to go and explore. I may be wrong. Hey, what's going on? You tell me what you see from this. So, I mean, the other thing, Clay, sharing a 60-year-old thing, I think we just know so much, it's difficult to find it. It's all in dusty corners. And so that's why it seems like we're losing our memory. No, we just know so much. Know too much stuff in dusty corners. Okay, that's all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Cameron?
I'm sharing this link. I shared this link on the chat that is to a YouTube video called The Egg, and it's a very interesting narrative for life that is a new narrative.
Okay, I'm gonna definitely check it out. I'm always interested in like a good curation, because it seems like I'm going to talk about the last words is the flooding of information and possibilities. I could watch Netflix, I could watch so many things, and I'm like, oh, what is the best use of my time? Constantly, I'm like, slow down. Oops. The egg. yeah, and so we live in times of like so much uncertainty, so much possibility, so much, in a way, too much. Sometimes I feel like that a duration and potentially like paying attention to the right things, I think is the dilemma of the future. So thank you for your participation, and I would love to see you potentially tomorrow or next week. And I want to find something cool to say that I can repeat at the end. It's going to be like a motto, but I haven't found one. So until then,
You
I don't
did
know.
great. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, each of you, especially Maxwell, for making the space.
Yes.
Right. Peace.
Wow.
Well,
Awesomeness.
Bye, guys.